I call this Altoona City Council meeting to order Monday, April 14th at 6 p.m. We will now have a moment of silent prayer. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And joining us to lead us in the pledge are scouts from Troop 117 from St. Mark's. So if you just come join us at the front here and lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda, would you take roll call, please?
Councilman Beatty.
Here.
Councilman Butterbaugh.
Here.
Councilwoman Klinich.
Here.
Vice Mayor Ellis.
Here.
Councilman Ickes.
Here.
Councilman Kelly.
Here.
Mayor Pacifico.
Here. Before we get into the public comment, I need to announce that we had executive sessions on March 10th, March 24th, and April 1st for the purpose of real estate, personnel, and potential litigation. With that, we will open the floor for public comment. If anybody would like to address council, come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record and keep your comments to 5 minutes. The floor is now open.
Good evening. My name's Mike Sinisi. I'm from Hollidaysburg. A lot of familiar faces here. Born and raised in Altoona, so I care a lot about the city and always have. I have handouts. Can I give those out real quick? I made 12 copies.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, I have 12. I'm gonna make
Okay.
sure I get one.
Thanks. He was on the water authority.
Okay. Back, I think, during the mayor's first term, we talked one day, and he said, I'd like to see about bringing in maybe state offices, state jobs, things like that, anything to aid the community. And I think sometimes, like our sister city to the west, where if you get called for jury duty for federal court, you're going where? Anybody? Johnstown. Thank you. If you need to go to the nearest FBI office, where are you going? And when Bruce wants to send Matt a Christmas card, they pick up the mail and it goes to the Altoona post office. And where does it go from there?
Johnstown.
Okay. So the point is, they know how to go after things sometimes, and your predecessors sometimes weren't as aggressive as they needed to be, okay? So where I'm going with this is there are opportunities within the government for the city of Altoona. And namely, where I'm going right now, why I'm here, is if you look at those little handouts, that first one on top, does anyone know what you're looking at? That's a Google Earth of anybody. You don't have to. I know you guys. That's the press. That's right. And it's entirely innocuous. I live there. Children play on the street in front of it. There are homes surrounding it with their front porches. That's a minimum security prison. They have work release. People go to work during the day and then go back there. It's been there 150 years. The parade route ends there, and all the kids meet their parents, and they'll go down to the fire hall, which is connected to the prison. So my point is, there's a stigma, and I hope that you folks don't have it, that this is somehow, it's scary, and the prison would, is gonna reach out and grab people or something. That's not the case at all. They say in Hollidaysburg, nobody cares that that prison has been sitting there all these years, 150 years. Nobody cares. So I'm trying to put that in your heads first. Okay? Now, the county is desperate for a place to build the new prison. They looked at us cemetery lands, and, you know, they're eminent domain, upset people, possibly stir up poltergeist, whatever, you know what I mean? It was a decision they had to pull back on. Now they're looking at behind the Sheraton, I've heard Beater Root, behind Beater Root. I've heard out the State Veterans Hospital. Yet, if you look at the next page, we have a plot of land between Boyer Candy and the DMV, Margaret and 9th Avenues, 17th and 19th Streets, that if you looked at that Google Earth, if it was available 50 years, there wouldn't be anything different in that photo. That's how long that has sat like that all my life. The only improvement was when Nate constructed the training center there on that one little parcel on the other side of the track. Otherwise, it's a wasteland. And where it is, it's zone light industrial. There's no population back there, no residences. A new prison, a prison in that site, would be a vast improvement over that. It would be, you'd be looking at new roads, curbs, you know, sidewalks, everything, probably some green space. It would also have the look of a school building. They've retained Kimball Engineering for the design of the new prison. They designed the junior high. If you look at the 3-story section of the junior high, you're looking at what a prison today would look like.
Your 5 minutes are up. Thank you.
Matt. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings, council, mayor, and yes, my name is Chuck Lamarck, resident of Altoona. I'm talking before you on a different subject this time. I've gotten some inspiration from the council members, particularly Jesse Ickes and Bruce Kelly, on their ability to communicate back and forth and consider what things are brought before you. And I'd like to encourage to have that kind of communication with the rest of you. And I think it's be on my behalf as well as you to have that happen. Also, when I brought this subject up briefly at the Redevelopment Authority, in which I also mentioned Jesse Sprouse, who also reaches out and listens. Not necessarily because any of those people agree with the subjects I bring forth or my objections to things or my different opinions, but because they consider things and listen to you and we have some dialogue back and forth. And I like to encourage that. And I think it might be necessary in order to have that happen to maybe change the way things are done here just a little bit. Just enough that you maybe take a little more time with the meetings, and I think 5 minutes is sufficient to get the most of the time to get the point across. But maybe a little bit of dialogue back and forth, mostly just to answer the questions we might have. And I think if we do it that way, that we could avoid what we had with the land crisis that we developed. We can avoid that. And it might not necessarily have ended up the way I wanted it or the way you wanted it, but at least it would have been a little more realistic. And we'd have looked at it differently. Now I want to get off of that subject. There's lots of things the city has to take care of. That's just one aspect of it. I realize that. And your job is immense. All you got to do is drive through Altoona and you see it. You see the street signs. You see lots of things that need done. Everything can't be done at once. We do the most important things that are best for all. I realize that. And I think, considering we've elected you, you serve us, we also serve you. We should serve you, not just expect you to serve us. I think we should come forth with ideas and try to work with you on things. And I want to encourage that. And I don't like to see it where we feel a little bitter towards each other or disappointed in each other. Let's work together. This is what I want to bring forth. When I was a police officer in Altoona, I used to drive around and I'd see problems. I'd see a sign missing. I'd see a traffic light out. I'd see a street light out. Other than this traffic light, when I'd call in, they'd say, "That's not your job. Don't worry about it. That's not your job." I've heard that too many times when I was on the police, and I don't think that that's what's going on. I hope not going on now. But I think citizens should be able to bring forth things to you if they have something that bothers them. Something as simple as a tree blocking a stop sign that you can't see. That's a hazard. And maybe hazardous conditions that exist in the city. You can't be there. You can't see it all. But a lot of you are under the same stringence that I am, that when you bring it up, you might say, "Hey, that's not your job." But it is. It's all of our jobs to make it safe for everyone. And I wish to bring that forth to you and hope that we can work together in the future. And I do appreciate the chance to come in here and bring these things to your attention. And thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Any more public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will close the floor and move on to the resolutions. Linda?
Item A is approving the minutes of the Altoona City Council meeting held Monday, March 10th, 2025. Item B is approving the collective bargaining agreement between the city and AFSCME, District Council Number 83, Local 2188, for a 3-year period from January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2027, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. I'm going to mention here, too, that on every resolution, each one of them is authorizing the city manager to execute the documents and the city clerk to attest to same, because I will not read all of that. I'll just read the actual resolution. The next one is item C, and it's authorizing the city of Altoona to enter into a professional design services contract with Aquatic Facility Design of Millersburg, PA, in the amount of $19,000 for an optional alternate one of $6,900 for the purpose of providing concept and feasibility design services for a new aquatics complex at Prospect Pool payable from the general fund. Item D is approving the inspection of the underpass agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for the purpose of using the city's licensed bridge inspectors on staff to inspect the closed pedestrian underpasses that exist under the 10th Avenue Expressway. Item E is authorizing the submission of a Pennsylvania small water and sewer grant application for the East Blair Avenue Stormwater Improvements Project in the amount of $270,278 and a local match of $47,697, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents in the city clerk and granting the city clerk to attest to same. Item F is authorizing an easement agreement between the city and Peoples Natural Gas for the purpose of a natural gas mainline replacement project at 4th Avenue Alley and 29th Street, shown on the Exhibit A attached here too. Item G is authorizing a temporary construction easement agreement between the city and Randy S. and Bonnie L. Kelly for the purpose of maintenance of stormwater facilities behind 2915 Wenwood Road. Item H is awarding the road materials bid for 2025-26 Package A and Package C to New Enterprise Stone and Lime of New Enterprise, PA, in the amount of $31,588 payable from the general fund and highway aid. Item I is awarding the road materials bid for 2025-26 Package B to Granis Brothers Stone and Asphalt Company of Hollidaysburg in the amount of $118,050 payable from the general fund and highway aid. Item J is awarding road materials for 2025-26 Package D to Woodland Equipment and Supply Company of Woodland, PA, in the amount of $15,960 payable from the general fund and highway aid. Item K is awarding street signs and materials for 2025-26 to Chemung Supply Corporation of Elmira, New York, for item number 1 in the amount of $8,800 payable from Highway Aid Fund account. Item L is awarding street signs and materials for 2025-26 to National Highway Products of Millville, New Jersey, for items 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the amount of $38,186.42 payable from Highway Aid Fund account. And item M is awarding Fire Station Number 1 basement ceiling project to Clark Contractors of Bedford in the amount of $30,379.91 payable from the 2025 capital budget. Item N is authorizing an agreement between the city and eCollect PA LLC of Conshohocken, Pennsylvania for the collection of delinquent mercantile and business privilege taxes. Item O is approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Terry Forneri for property located at 1931 15th Avenue. Item P is approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Kiera Myrick for property located at 3318 6th Avenue. And item Q is approving a repository bid in the amount of $250 submitted by Clinton Manorall of Altoona for property located at 806 6th Avenue. Is there anything that needs to be pulled for separate vote?
Yeah, I'd like to pull Q for separate vote, please. Thank you.
All right, I will call first for the consent vote on all items A through P. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilwoman Klinich,
yes,
Vice Mayor Ellis,
Yes.
Councilman Ickes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
And the consent vote passes 7-0. And we have item number Q, which is approving a repository bid in the amount of $250 submitted by Clinton Manorall of Altoona for property located at 806 6th Avenue. Councilman Beatty.
The reason I am pulling Q is the address given by the applicant is simply another property that they own in Altoona, but that is not their residence. So I don't know how or why the tax office let that application go through like that. But the residence is actually New York.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Beatty.
No.
Councilman Butterbaugh.
No.
Councilwoman Klinich.
no,
Vice Mayor Ellis.
No.
Councilman Ickes.
No.
Councilman Kelly.
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
And the vote does not pass.
Okay, moving on to the city manager update.
I have no significant updates.
Thank you. Council discussion items. Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. I just think I'd be remiss if I didn't just make note of what happened in Harrisburg over the weekend, and I'm just saddened by what happened at the governor's mansion, but yet so thankful that the governor and his family were not harmed. There's absolutely no reason for that to happen in this day and age. Violence is not an acceptable answer to if you have disputes or disagreements. That's not the way to handle things, and it's disturbing. But again, I'm thankful that the governor and his family are okay, and I just wanted to say something tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Ickes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure myself and others here will echo those same comments of Councilman Kelly. I do want to take this opportunity to thank the folks who joined us this evening to participate in the civic process here in your form of local government, and thank you for leading the Pledge of Allegiance here tonight. Very much appreciated, and we appreciate your attendance here this evening. I want to take this time to wish everyone a happy Easter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Butterbaugh.
What they said and nothing added at this time. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Ellis.
Yes, I'd like to thank Christina and Nate and Chris, the city manager, for the work they did on getting the ASME contract wrapped up. Nice work. And I also echo the comments of Councilman Kelly regarding what happened in Harrisburg, and to sort of quote the governor yesterday, said, as a society, we have to do better than to allow this type of violence to impact the way that it does. So, thank you.
Councilman Beatty.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that the redevelopment authority put another property out on Friday and acquired another property to possibly build some more houses in the city. So we're taking it one step at a time, and I think we're making good progress.
Agreed.
Happy Easter.
Councilwoman Klinich.
I just want to echo what everybody else said about the governor's mansion, and happy Easter to all.
Thank you. Questions from the media, Bill?
Thank you. Could somebody explain the scope of the consultant's work that'll happen on the Prospect Pool site?
So the scope of that, Bill, is just that the consultant at this point in time will work to develop a few different models, if you will. And then we'll just look at the models in base, I guess, budget and needs on each one of those.
Say
So-
that last part again. I didn't-
So we'll base each one. He'll develop a couple different concept plans, and then from those concept plans, we'll be able to determine, the budget of each concept plans, and then also, whatever needs are put in with each one of those. Like one has a water slide, one has this, one has that widget, or whatever. So that's kind of the first step in this process, because you have to kind of develop that to fit the need of the community, I guess.
Is that, I vaguely remember that there was something similar several years ago done. Is this like a repeat of that, or is it a?
No, those first two initial steps, one was a study, and then the second one was like a little bit more in depth of a study to sort of look at the physical plant up there as far as, what we can keep and what was really past end of life. So this kind of just expands on that and actually comes up with some, brick and mortar designs, not so much in bid form, but, at least conceptually that people can see those and get excited about, the different things that may be able to be built up there.
Would you imagine that, that there, once this is done, there would be like a public meeting to gauge the community's interest in any particular proposal, or not necessarily?
Yeah, I think so. Whenever, if you look at the proposal that they have presented, there is a public input portion through a survey that they'll do firsthand, and then we'll take the next step when it comes.
Okay. Could I get a copy of that proposal?
Yeah, it should be in the,
Oh, is it? Okay, thanks. And how would the cost of the consultant be paid? Like, where's the money come from?
general engineering.
And at this point, maybe this is too early, but is there any idea how much, like the range of costs of the actual projects that they may propose?
I don't think so. I mean, at this point, we're just sort of, low end, mid end, high end, and then just see what each one looks like individually.
Okay, and it's probably in the thing, but what's the timeline for this consultant study?
I believe that we would like to get everything, the plan would be that if things stay on task the way they are, the development would be by the end of summer, we would have this preliminary phase done, that then we can move. If, it was so decided to move in that direction, we could move the final design at the end of summer.
You mean like the final design could start at the end of summer?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, this may be too premature to say, but any idea when an actual work on a new pool could begin? Like next year, or?
I mean, yeah, it could. You know, I think it all just depends on budget and cost and what can really be salvaged. So yes. I mean, the final design would be started in the fall. You could, in theory, go to bid in the winter time to start in the spring of '26, if all the pieces fall into place. But there's a lot between now and then.
Okay, thanks. Anybody want to comment on Mike Sinisi's idea of putting a jail, a county jail, over by 17th Street and Margaret Avenue, in between that area?
I don't think it's a terrible idea, but I also think that the commissioners were elected to make decisions that they're going to make, and I think they need a little bit more ground than that would give them. So I think, you know, the commissioners, we got elected to city council, the commissioners got elected to the commissioner's seat, so I think we're going to stay out of it unless they ask.
Bill, I'd be open to a jail in the city if they were also going to move the county seat into the city.
Have they promised to do that?
I appreciate Mr. Sinisi's presentation this evening, but I'm not particularly interested.
So I think we would take a serious look at any potential development and what it might bring to the city. But I think in the instance of the jail, the commissioners were looking for something within a certain proximity. They wanted to have it so close to the courthouse because of transporting prisoners for hearings and trials. And I don't know that the city was any place that they had looked at. So.
Anybody else want to say anything about it? Anybody care to say anything about what Chuck Lamarck said?
Bill, I think, you know, as city residents, and, you know, you have to realize we're taxpayers too. So, you know, whenever we're making decisions, you know, we weigh the benefits to everybody, you know, the cost and benefit. So I think it's good to have a discussion, but in the end, a decision has to be made. And, you know, if you elect people, you ought to let them, you know, make the decisions that need to be made.
Okay. Are the details, Linda, are the details of the AFSCME contract in my packet? I didn't see. Could I get
No.
a copy of them or have somebody tell me them?
I don't know. I don't have it yet, Bill, and it has to be executed too,
You mean by the union?
by everybody, by all of us.
So it wouldn't be available until they do that, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. When do you expect them to vote on that? And Mike, this is not a public document yet. This is, correct? Okay. Okay. Let me see. Oh, the underpass. I thought that was going to be filled in, eliminated. Is that, what's going on with that?
So when we originally did it, we knocked down the stair towers, and in typical PennDOT fashion, they want us to now inspect the piece that's still intact under the roadway. So this was the most inexpensive way to do it, which was to use our own bridge inspectors to do that operation. So we'll have to do that every few years until we, you know, get a grant to fill it in, or PennDOT comes through and fills it in on their next project through. It was a good idea, and they agree with it, but it's just procedure for them.
What do you need to inspect? Like, what is there to inspect?
The actual 8x10 hole the beams over top of the hole aren't going to fall in and create a sinkhole. It's considered a structure because of it goes under the roadway. It's an underpass.
Well, so the original project didn't involve filling it in?
No, we just knocked the stair towers down and created an access. We didn't want to do it on purpose because if anybody needed to get utilities from one side of 10th Avenue to the other, we wanted that open to be able to do that. So,
Oh, okay, so you basically took the stair tower down and closed it off? Like with a temporary door kind of thing, or?
yeah, call it that.
And so they want, I'm sorry for being dumb about it, but did they want you to just inspect it to make sure it doesn't fall down?
Yeah, we have
So-
to crawl down in. The fire department helps us with air monitoring, and we go down and just inspect the top of the beams and make sure there's no cracking or section loss in the rebar, et cetera.
And,
So it's pretty standard. It's nothing.
and long-term, you do want to fill it in, or you want to keep it for utility access, possibly?
We plan to leave it open for utility access until we get the funding to fill it in. At that point, we'll decide what to do with putting conduits through it and filling it in. PennDOT said they're willing to at least look at it when a project goes through there for them also.
You mean to help you pay for it? I mean, would that cost much to fill in that kind of thing?
I think we had a grant, a couple months ago, we had a grant request and it was a couple $100,000
Oh,
with the,
how long is the tunnel?
3 lanes, 12, with probably 50 feet long.
Oh, okay. Okay. And could you give me a scope on the stormwater project at
It runs up on East Blair Avenue from Kettle Street up towards Rose Hill Cemetery and then goes up A Street a portion.
and it's flooding
Curb.
in what area is that designed to help with?
It comes down through like Rose Hill Cemetery. That whole kind of watershed up through there and kind of runs down through and
Like the Brush Run watershed?
correct.
Okay. And is that a competitive grant?
I think it's very competitive.
And then the e-collect deal, is that the same as was explained at the workshop? That's, okay. That's all, thanks.
Meeting adjourned.